What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Ruben and I am Ruben the Vlogger. So today is gonna be a story time, and in case you missed the title, it's gonna be about the time that I moved to California and completely failed. And the reason for this story time is because I was going through my phone last night and I was going through my videos because I was trying to clear out some space and shit. So I was going through my videos and shit, and then I ran across the videos that I have from my time in California. Yeah. No, but yeah, so I was like, well, I mean, I had been wanting to do this story time for a while now, but yesterday I ran into the videos and I'm like, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna do that story time, because either y'all can laugh at the situation with me, y'all can laugh at me, or I can help someone that's, you know, planning on moving to either California, a different city, or a different state from where they are. So let's go ahead and start with the story. So when Ruben the Vlogger moved to California and failed big time. So okay, so the idea of me moving to California started back when I was like 13 years old. I visited California for the first time when I was 12, and then ever since then I just kept telling myself and kept telling my family, kept telling everyone. Everyone knew that I had this idea of moving to California. So since I was 13, I would always say, I'm gonna move to California. Like I'm gonna move to California. I'm gonna move to California. Hey you, I'm gonna move to California. Hey you, I'm gonna move to California. Hey you, I'm gonna move to California. Everyone knew that I had this idea of moving to California. But I mean, since I was like 13 years old, I was just bullshitting. I was like, you know, I was like, okay, you're 13. Like that idea will eventually fade away. But nah, it never did. The years went by and I was still like, yeah, like one day I'm gonna move to California, and, you know, all this little bullshit. But no one ever really took me serious. They were just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I finally grew up, finally became a man, and people were starting to, you know, take me a little bit more serious. So I was like, hey, like I'm gonna move to California. And they're like, oh, okay, like that sounds good. Like, when are you gonna do this? And I'm like, oh, like in a year, probably. Like, I'm gonna just, you know, work and save up money, and then I'm gonna move. But then, that never happened. That never happened. So then what did happen was that I ended up moving out of my parents' house. I turned 21. I was around 21 when I moved out, and I ended up getting an apartment. So once I got that apartment, you know, I was pretty much stuck there because I had a lease. I had a contract of 1 year. So I mean, during that time, the idea was still there, but like it wasn't there that much. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then that year came and went, so then I had to renew my lease again. So then that means I was in that apartment 2 years. So then, like I said, the idea was there, but it wasn't there. So me being stuck here for another year, you know, didn't really affect me, or didn't really, you know, get to me, or, you know, like I wasn't really thinking about California at this point. So then that second year at my apartment comes to an end. So now me and my roommate are looking for another place to stay. We find a place to stay. We sign, no, we didn't sign the lease, but we did give a deposit. And then like a week after we give the deposit and we get the okay to move in and yada yada yada, I hit up my roommate and I'm like, hey, like I had to tell you something. And she's like, what? And this roommate is my friend Ariana, the one that y'all seen in the videos below. And I'm like, hey, like I gotta tell you something. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna move in after all. I'm like, cause I'm gonna just move to California. Like, yeah, it's time for me to move to California. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna move to California. Like I already made up my mind and no one's gonna make me change my mind. So here's your part of the deposit that you paid, and I guess we're not roommates no more because I'm moving to California. And she was like, what the fuck. And yeah, so I did feel bad because I kind of did it all at the end and kind of left her hanging and shit. But I was like, the idea was just like hardcore engraved in my head, and I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna just move to California and no one can stop me, no one's gonna change my mind. So yeah. And then I ended up having to tell my parents also. I'm like, hey, like I'm gonna move to California. I'm like, y'all know I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I think now is the perfect time, because why keep wasting time when I can just do it now? The time is now, and I'm out. So my mom was a little bit more understanding, because like I said, I have had this idea since I was 13. So growing up, she would always hear this idea of me moving to California. So I didn't really catch her by surprise that I was like, yeah, I'm moving to California. She was like, yeah, well, maybe it's time that you finally go out there and see what's out there for you. You've always had this idea of moving out there, so yeah, like what's holding you back? Just go out there. I wish you the best and be safe. My dad, on the other hand, he was a little bit more like, why are you moving? Whatever you're gonna do over there, you can do here. You know, the idea was just, he was just not having it. He was just like, he just didn't get it. He didn't get why, or like he was just not understanding. So I was like, well, you know what, like no one's gonna change my mind, so I'm leaving to California. If you want to support me, good. If you don't, I'm sorry. And the same was for my friends. I was like, okay, I'm moving to California. If y'all want to support me, good. If y'all don't, then it's whatever. But yeah, everyone was pretty supportive. They were like, oh, okay. My friend Ariana even threw me a going away party, which she spent money on, and then y'all will see what happens at the end. So yeah, so then after I told everyone that I was moving to California, I had to come up with a date of when I was gonna leave. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and leave on October 4th. Just randomly chose a date, which was October 4th. And I'm like, yeah, October 4th is the day that I'm gonna drive out to California. By October 5th, I should be in California. Yeah, because our lease ended like in September 15, and then from September 15 to October 4th, I was living at my parents and just working and just like getting everything ready for me to leave. And so then October 4th comes, and it's time for me to say goodbye to my family, to my friends. And then I went and I picked up Ariana, because she's the one that drove with me those 19 hours to California. So shout out to her. So I picked her up, and then we started driving to California. And I can honestly tell you that driving from Austin, Texas to Los Angeles, California is the boringest drive ever. It's just straight, nothing but straight highway, nothing but big old mountains, nothing but desert. Like you, every 1 hour or 2 hours, you hit a small little town. But in between, it's nothing but desert. So you're driving on a lonely ass road, nothing but desert. If your car was to like break down or get a flat, you're screwed. Like you have to wait for someone to come, and I don't know how you're gonna, I wouldn't even know who to contact, because there's nothing, there's no city, or there's nothing but little small towns every hour or every 2 hours. So when I was driving, I was just hoping and praying that my car didn't break down, that I didn't get a flat, or like, you know, that nothing went wrong, because I'm like, I honestly don't know what I would do because there's no one here. So then I drove half of the way, and then Ariana drove the other half, and then we went through Texas, obviously, but from Austin to get out of Texas, it was like 13 hours, because from here to El Paso, it was about 13 hours, I remember. So that was the longest part, like just driving out of Texas. And once we drove out of El Paso, we hit New Mexico, and then we drove straight to to New Mexico. New Mexico isn't that big, so we drove out of there pretty quick. And then we stopped in Tucson, Arizona. We spent the night there, and then the next morning we drove straight for another probably like 5 or 6 hours until we got to California. But yeah, that drive was the worst. So then we arrived to California. Like the whole drive, I can say I didn't feel anything. Like I did not feel nervous, I didn't feel excited, I didn't feel scared, I didn't feel happy. Like I didn't feel anything. I was pretty numb. I honestly couldn't feel nothing. But when we arrived to the hotel, I parked my car, like I chill, and then I look into the view, and I'm like, okay, like this is gonna be my new view. And I see these big ass mountains, like with snow on top, and I'm like, oh my god. That's when reality sunk in. I was like, oh my god, I'm in fucking California. Like I just drove 19 hours, I'm in California. Like what the fuck, this is real. So I think that's when Ariana also realized that reality sunk into me, because through the whole drive I was just like bullshitting, laughing, and you know, like acting normal, acting like we're going down the street to the corner store. And then when we get there, I'm a little bit more quiet, more I look a little bit more nervous. I'm a little more quiet. So when I'm quiet, something's wrong. So I think she noticed that. But since I knew that she was with me, I didn't want to just have her at the hotel bored and, you know, locked up. So I'm like, I had to entertain her. So I had to put, you know, everything aside and entertain her. So while she was there with me for 3 days. So we went to the beach, we went to the mall, we got our teeth whitened, which was a complete fail. But yeah, for those 3 days I felt that I had to entertain her, or at least that was the plan. And then the second day that we arrived, I had to go apartment hunting because we were staying at a hotel. So I had to find somewhere to stay as soon as possible because I don't want to keep wasting money on the hotel. So the second day, it's a Friday, I believe. So we go apartment hunting. And we went to like 2 apartments. Yeah, we went to 2 apartment complexes. We went to 1 duplex. It was for rent. And then I ended up at this apartment complex and I really liked it. It was pretty nice. So then I was like, okay, like I think this is the one that I'm gonna go for. But the main concern was me getting approved for the apartment. So we go on the tour, they show us the tour, it was pretty nice. They showed me the unit that I was gonna be staying in and everything. And throughout this whole process, I was just worried. I was like, please just say yes. Don't get me all excited and then for me to like not even be able to move in. So that's why I was looking at everything, but I wasn't getting too excited because I was like, what if I get denied? And then I submit the application and it took like 15 minutes for them to tell me whether I was approved or not approved. So I had to wait those 15 minutes and then she's like, oh, okay, like you're approved. And I was like, oh, like I had a big sigh of relief. But then like I was so blinded by her telling me that I was approved that I was just like, yeah. She was like, yeah, the price is this, the price is this, and like this is your apartment. And I'm like, yeah, like I'll take it, like I don't give a fuck, like I'll take whatever you're giving me right now. And then Ariana was next to me and I was just so blinded by her telling me, yes, you're approved. So she was telling me the apartment was $1,400 a month plus bills. In order to move in, I had to give $1,400 plus a deposit, which in total was about like $2,500. The apartment wasn't even that big. It was a studio. It didn't even have a bedroom. It had like some sliding doors where the room was. And I was just saying yes to everything because since she had said I was approved, I was just like, good. Like this is my only option right now. I'm gonna take it. I don't care. And I don't care to pay whatever the price is. Like I'm just gonna take this apartment, I don't care. And Ariana tells me, she was like, yeah, like I was just watching you and you were just like yes to everything. And she was like, I wanted to like, you know, tell you and, you know, shake you up and make you realize that you were about to pay a shitload of money. She's like, but at the same time, I don't want to burst your bubble and seem like I was killing your your dream of being a Californian resident. And I was like, yeah, I was pretty dumb. I was like, I'm like, as soon as I heard her tell me I was approved, I was just like, whatever you gotta say, just let me know where to sign. And that's a good thing that I didn't sign that day, because she was missing some paperwork from the bank, and so I couldn't sign the lease yet. So she was like, yeah, as soon as you bring me those papers, then you'll be able to sign the lease. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, like, I'll come back on Monday to sign the lease. So we left it at that. And then the next day after that, I think we went to the beach and all that. Like, I took Ariana to the beach and we went to explore. And then after that, I had to go drop Ariana off at the airport. And this is when it got real, because during the time that Ariana was there with me, my mind was too busy, you know, entertaining her, and she was distracting me. We were laughing, we were, you know, having a good time. So I didn't have much time to actually think and analyze and come to the conclusion that I was in California. So then the day comes, she has to come back home. I take her to the airport. I drive back to the hotel, and I'm like, that's when reality sunk in. I was like, oh shit, like, I'm in California by my fucking self. I was like, what am I gonna do by myself? I was like, oh my god, like, this is so scary. I'm by myself. So that's when the doubt started to come. I started to think whether this is really what I wanted, or if this was just like a crazy idea of mine and it wasn't gonna work out. So I was just like back and forth. I was like, yeah, like, this is what I wanted. I'm gonna just make it work. I'm already here. So, like, what's the problem? And then the other side of me, I was like, no, like, just go back home. Because then tomorrow you're gonna sign the lease, and then once you sign the lease, you're stuck here. And why are you gonna sign the lease if you're probably gonna end up breaking it, if you can't, you know, if you can't overcome the depression and the fear of being out here by yourself? So that's what had me like back and forth. And then I had to make a decision right away, because the next day I had to sign the lease. So I was just, that whole day and that whole night, I was just like back and forth. I was like, yes, no, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna leave. And then I was like, fuck, like, if I leave, I have to drive those 19 hours, and this time I'm gonna have to drive them by myself. So that's what was holding me back. I was like, ugh, like, I don't want to drive. So I even looked at the option of me flying back home and having my car shipped, and that was too expensive. So I'm like, no, that's not even an option. And then I would get calls from my parents, so I had to pretend that everything was great, because I don't want them to know that I was over there stressed, depressed, and crying and shit. So they would call, and I was like, yeah, like, everything's going great, like, everything's good and all that, like, positive as fuck. And then they would hang up, and I was just like I was like, let me go ahead and try to remember if I actually cried before I'm over here looking stupid telling y'all I cried and I didn't. But yeah, I honestly think I did cry. I think I cried once. I was like, shit. Because it was just like such an emotional fucking roller coaster. I was like, I was excited that I had made it that far, but then I realized how far I was, and then I would get sad and emotional, because I was like, my friends, my family. And then so then I didn't end up going to sign the lease, because I'm like, no, like, I need a little bit more time to think about it. And they were calling me, they were like, hey, like, are you gonna come sign the lease or not? But I wouldn't even answer, so they would leave me voicemails. And then by the second day, I guess they realized I wasn't gonna go sign the lease, so they stopped blowing up my phone. So then I had already paid the hotel, so I had like another week to stay at the hotel. And I'm like, okay, well, like, I'm gonna write it out for the hotel, I mean, until my hotel stay ends. I'm like, I'm gonna just write it out and see if my mind changes, if I can actually make up my mind and come to a decision. So I ended up staying the whole rest of the week at the hotel. And some days I would just stay in the hotel all day because I was just too depressed to even go out. And then some of the days I was like, no, like I'm gonna just go out and explore, you know, the city. I'm gonna go ahead and maybe if I explore the city, it'll make me feel better, and it'll just, like, you know, help me make a decision. And then finally the end of my stay at the hotel comes, and I'm like, and I mean, I had the option of, you know, adding like another day or adding another 2 days or adding a whole week at the hotel, but I was like, yeah, like if I was gonna stay, I would have added another week to the hotel. But I was like, yeah, I think this is where my time in California ends, and it's time for me to drive all the way back to Austin, take my ass back home. Stop playing. So yeah, so then I had to check out of the hotel, stuff everything back in my car, like all my clothes that I had got off, because that's the only thing that I got off, like my clothes. I mean, that's pretty much what I took. So I had to throw all my clothes back in my car, my fucking canastos, my suitcases. I had to throw everything back in my car so I could come back home. And I made the decision, and I didn't even tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone that I was coming back home. I just started driving, and I was like, oh my god. I'm like, is this really what I'm doing? I'm like, I just came, I did all this show for nothing. I told everyone I was leaving. My parents cried, my friends were sad. I'm like, I did all this and I'm going back home. I'm like, is this really what I want? And I'm driving back home and I'm still thinking, is this what I want? And then I'm like, yeah, like, I'm like, this is what I want. Like, I mean, I came, I tried, I saw what it would be like, and I guess California isn't for me, so let me take my ass back home to Austin, Texas. And I drove all the way to El Paso, and I ended up staying there in El Paso. I got a hotel, and then from there, the next morning, I drove straight all the way back home to Austin. And then when I got home, my parents weren't here because I got here like at night. I don't know where they were at. So I got here and I went straight to sleep, so I didn't even see them that night. The next day I woke up and I went to Ariana's house to visit her because she didn't even believe me that I was back home. So I went to visit her and I'm like, hey, I'm back home. And she's like, you're back home? I threw you a going away party and now you're back home. I drove with you and now you're back home. And I'm like, my bad, I'm home. And then I'm like, so are we gonna have like a welcome back party or what? She's like, nah, I ain't throwing you no more parties. So then that whole day I didn't see my parents either. So then the second day, this was already the second day that I had been back home and I hadn't seen my parents and I lived with them. So then I told them, I'm like, hey, like, let's go to eat because I haven't seen y'all since I've been back. So we went out to eat and it was pretty awkward at first. Like, no one hit the topic of why I was back. And then we finally sit down and eat and I'm like, well, pues me la rajé a California. I'm like, ya regresé, ya ni modo. I was like, shit, I'm back, I'm sorry. And they were like, yeah, well, we're glad that you're back. We were just, when you were over there, we were just worried that something could have happened to you, or, you know, that what would you do if something happened to you and you're over there by yourself? There's nothing like you being here in the same city as your family and I don't know what. And I'm like, no, yeah, you're right. And yeah, that's the end of it. But I mean, even though I didn't move to California and ended up living over there, I think I did gain some things from this whole experience. For one, I learned that I need my family and my friends more than I thought I needed them, because I'm always like the type to be like, I'm always by myself, so I don't know why when I was over there by myself it freaked me out. But I guess it just changes because I mean I'm by myself because I'm by myself because I want to. But whenever I want, I can go visit my friends, I can go visit my family. Like, you know, it changes. Like, you know, to have my friends close just, I don't know, like it just makes me feel better to have my friends and my family close, knowing that I can, you know, see them whenever I want and not see them when I don't want. But over there it was like if I wanted to see them I couldn't, whether I wanted to or not. So then, like, I think that made me value and appreciate my friends and my family more, because I didn't think I actually really needed them, but this whole experience taught me that I needed them more than what I think. So that's something that I gained. I ended up showing my appreciation, my love for my friends and my family. Once I came back, I let everyone know. I'm like, hey, I love y'all, I fucking love y'all. But so that's one thing. What's another thing? I guess I just, because I went over there thinking that, oh my god, like I'm gonna get over there and like everything's gonna work out for me, like back to back, it's gonna be nothing but good things. And then I just came to the realization that, I mean, whatever I want to do over there, I can do it here. I have my family support, my friend support. I mean, that's all I need. What's another thing that I gained from it? I guess I gained weight. I did gain weight though, because I was eating nothing but fast food while I was at the hotel. But yeah, like this whole experience was just life-changing, and I think the idea of me moving to California finally got out of my head. But I can't say I'll never move to California, because at some point maybe the opportunity comes for me. Or maybe, I mean, maybe I did have that idea for a reason. Maybe that idea popped in my head for a reason. So maybe later on in the future, something happens to where I can actually move to California without any problem, without, you know, without any issue. And maybe this time I'll be mentally prepared, because like I said, I was prepared in any other way besides mentally. Like once I realized that I was by myself, that's when it hit me, and I was just like, yeah, I can't do this. Because I didn't prepare for that. I didn't think that that would have been an issue, because like I said, I'm always by myself. So I mean, when I would think of me moving over there, I knew I wasn't gonna be with my family and my friends, but I was like, okay, like, I mean, I'm used to being alone, so I don't think it'll be a problem in another state, me being by myself. But it actually was, once I saw that I was by myself in a whole different state, thousands of miles away from home. It really made it, you know, different than being here. So I think that was the biggest obstacle, like the mental part. I wasn't ready, I wasn't prepared to be by myself. I wasn't prepared to be in a city by myself, like not be able to talk to anyone face to face. Like if I would go out and then I would come back,